it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. This morning I am sharing with you the... Oh, there's one missing. Oh, there we are. The swaps that I have made for our team event this weekend. There's over 80 of us going. It's going to be fantastic. By the time you watch this, it will have happened. Because obviously I don't want my swaps to... the people who are going to receive my swaps to see in advance what they're getting, because they're a surprise. So because it's such a large team, we do very detailed swaps, or the idea is that we do very detailed swaps, but for a smaller group. So you volunteer for the group that you're going to take part in, and they're groups of 6, so you make one for you and 5 for the other people in the group. And I'm doing the one that's for the everyday stamp sets. So in the annual catalogue, you will probably have seen that there are these tabs down the side, and one of the groups is to use a stamp set that is in the everyday occasions section. So it's quite a large section. And one of the things that I try and do with swaps is use a stamp set that I haven't used that much or haven't used for a long while, so that it's a good way of giving it a bit more life, and for me to actually kind of use it again. So I'm using the Climbing Orchid stamp set and the matching Orchid Builder framelets. These were a bundle last year. They're not a bundle now, you have to buy them separately. So that's a note to self. If you want to get the stamp set and dies that match, you're better to get them when they're new, because then you save 10% by buying them as a bundle. So even if they do carry over, they may still be available, but you'll have to pay for them separately. And that means you're wasting your money. So get anything that is new and a bundle when it's new, and save yourself 10%. So I'm going to go through how I made this card, and it's made really much easier by using the Stamparatus. So I've already got my Stamparatus set up, but first things first. So let's go through what we need. We need a half sheet of basic black, which is for the card base, a mat for the green here, which is garden green, I want to say, because we always list, yes, we list what we've used on the back of the card. It's what we call a recipe, and I always put what the event was and my contact details as well. I have to say for this one I missed a few things out, so I had to redo the label and stick another one on. So garden green, which I have already embossed with the subtle dynamic embossing folder, and I've already sprayed it with some of the Vegas Gold shimmer paint, just mixed with water. And I just, before I ran it through the embossing folder, because it's a dynamic impressions embossing folder, it's actually better to put your card through when you've spritzed it with water. So as I was spritzing it with shimmer anyway, I did the two as one. So I just spritzed it with the shimmer paint diluted in water. There's not much left now, but just a few drops of the Vegas Gold shimmer paint in water, spritzed it, ran it through the embossing folder, and it embossed really well. Now you can use rubbing alcohol, in which case it will dry quicker, but obviously because I wanted the card to be a little bit damp, there was no point in using alcohol. Anyway, so that's that. The dimensions will all be on my blog, which is linked immediately below, so I'm not going to go through the dimensions here. They're basically my usual dimensions. So smaller mat, Melon Mambo larger mat, so quite an interesting colour combination, and then this is just for the inside because obviously it's black, so we need something to write on. And then I have got this small piece of basic black as well, which is for this piece, which actually wraps round. So we'll come on to that in a moment. So the orchids are So saffron, I've already done some die cutting, and the leaves are pear pizzazz. So as I say, it's quite an interesting colour palette, but I looked at lots of orchids on Pinterest, and they are really strange colours, so hence my colour scheme. So I've already done all the die cutting because I think there's nothing more boring than watching people die cut. If it's not what the video is all about, I will do a video on die cutting at some point. And I've already stamped some of the items because I need doubles of some of them. So let's get started. Oh, and you need a scrap of Whisper White. That's the other thing you need. So I've got my Stamparatus set up and I'm using both plates because I want 4 lots of stamping. And I've die cut both for the inside of the orchid and for the orchid and the leaves themselves a template. Because what that means is when you're doing mass production, you can just die cut your items from your paper and you can get the best use of your paper without having to worry about the fact that you've stamped and lining up the die and stuff. So this way you just die cut a template and you just fit your die in, and because you're using the Stamparatus you can then set it up so that it works perfectly. So actually let me show you how you set it up. So I'll take out this centre. So to set it up, all I do is take my stamp, pop it into the template, having attached the template to my mat, or I have actually got a piece of grid paper that I've laminated. And here's the thing, we're bringing out Stamparatus grid paper. It's coming any minute now, so keep your eye open for that. Perfectly sized, it's going to be brilliant. So then just pick your stamp up. You can then pop your die cut piece in, and the insides of my orchids are heat embossed. So I'm going to start by stamping. I've already done the small one. I need 2 large and 1 small, so I already did the small one. So bear with me. The technique is the same. So just ink up. You can't see that, can you? Anyway, I've just inked up the stamp. Stamp that down, and that's with Melon Mambo. Now it will pick it up because it's a tiny little piece, but that's fine. You can then just pop it back in. And I don't need the Melon Mambo at the moment anymore. And just clean off my stamp, because the next thing I need to do, just want to dry it off a bit. The next thing I want to do is heat emboss. So Versamark ink. And I haven't bothered with the embossing buddy because basically I'm embossing the whole thing. Oh, and I've just realised I've done the wrong way around. Never mind, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I was going to do the other bit first, but never mind, it's going to be fine. Because I'm heat embossing the whole thing, it doesn't actually matter. Now, somewhere I very carefully put my tweezers. There they are, they're hiding. So I have a pair of very old, very loved tweezers that just close onto themselves. So this is clear embossing powder. I would actually be doing this the other way round, and I'll show you what I mean by the other way round in a minute. So I'm just going to heat up my heat tool, because what I meant to do is do the white before I did the clear embossing powder. So let me just heat that. Sorry about the noise, not much I can do about that. Lovely. Right, so just cool that down. That's all I need the clear embossing powder for. So let's get that out of harm's way. Then I'm going to pop my embossed piece back in. And now I am going to use the embossing buddy. And what I meant to do was do the Melon Mambo, then this step, and then the step I've just done. So apologies for that. Life happens. So I've already mounted up, not that you can see them, the insides, the little bits that do the white. So I'm just going to add some Versamark to that and stamp that down. And this is where I love the Stamparatus, because you can just use all your plates, and they're actually bringing out, as well as grid paper, they are bringing out additional mats. So if you've damaged your mat for any reason, you can now get a replacement mat, and we're getting plates. So you can have lots and lots of spare plates, which means you can just, you know, mount loads of stamps and be a bit like a conveyor belt. Right, heat tool. So that's not quite as defined as it would have been had I done it in the right order, because oops, that'll be my heat tool falling on the floor. Hopefully it still works, and it does. There we go. Let's put it back on its little hook so that it doesn't do that again. Right, okay, so that's that bit. So I can pop that to one side to do its thing. So I don't need that template anymore. What I now need is this template, which has got everything else on it. And I'm just going to check that I've got my positions right, which I have, or I would have if I turned my plate round. Yep. Okay, so let's move everything across a bit so that you can see what's going on. So I've stuck this down just with some washi tape, and as I say, this is just a laminated piece of grid paper, and now all I'm going to do is pop in my die cuts into my template, because then I know they're going to be in the right place, and then I'm going to get perfect stamping. Famous last words. Okay, so the trick with inking up is really to put a stamp case underneath your plate, because then it's flat, and then, although I've got stamps on the other side of this so it's not totally flat, but it's better than it would be otherwise, just ink up your stamps. And oh, and I've just realised what I didn't get out, but that's fine. I've realised what I didn't get out, so it's fine. And there we are, perfectly stamped. And then I just need to ink up. So that was Melon Mambo on So Saffron. This I'm actually using Granny Apple Green onto the Pear Pizzazz, because I wanted a bit more of a vibrant green, but I didn't want the garden green, because I think that's a bit dark. So I wanted darker, but not too dark. And there we are, all beautifully stamped. So the rest, hopefully, won't take too long to put together. I have got to do one more bit of heat embossing. Let's get rid of this lot. I'll take the plates out so that I don't get everything dirty, and put them somewhere where they're not going to put ink on things. There we go. Right, so I don't need that anymore, but what I do need is my gold embossing, so that's that. Right, okay, let's get a wiggle on. So, card base, so piece of, half sheet of cardstock, and just then fold that in half. Then, where's my glue? There's my glue. Multi-purpose adhesive. Where are we time-wise? Good grief, 13 minutes. So multi-purpose adhesive, 13 minutes, and my battery's going flat. This is going to be interesting. So, pop that down. Pop this down. Liquid adhesive is great on anything embossed because it picks up the height, so the bit that's proud, and it doesn't squash it flat. And I like to just rub that over the back. Then we need to do some stamping on the inside of the card, for which I need that stamp and a C block. So this is the solid version, the complete version of the ones that I've die cut. So Melon Mambo. Ooh. And my inside. and then just stamp that in the bottom corner so that it just brings everything through from the outside. And I'm not sticking that down yet, because the next thing I need to do is stamp my Enjoy Today, which is on here, and I need to do that in Versamark because we're going to heat emboss that. So let's get the D block, and it's that way round. Right, embossing buddy, absolutely on the basic black. You definitely need your embossing buddy. No question about it. Right, Versamark ink. Basic black is probably the one that absorbs embossing powder more easily than any of the other colours. I don't know why, but there we go. There. Okay, right, don't need any more ink pads, so let's get those out of the way and get this embossed. Yep. And where would we be without our cheese board? So fortunately our heat tool is already reasonably hot. Come along. There we go. Right. Okay. This is the tailored tag. Yeah, tailored tag. So all I'm going to do is pop this into there. You could do this with scissors, but hey, equally you can do it with this. So get that as square as you can and punch, and then you get a nice shape. Right, let's put this together. I'm going to do this in a slightly odd order because I want to put this in first. And what I did here was, let me grab my trimmer, because this is also a scorer, is I positioned this so that I could see where I needed to score. That's the word I'm looking for. So I need to score there. Bring in my trimmer, line that little pencil mark up and score, and then that will fold inside, because what I then did was position it so that it's right at the bottom of the card, so that the Melon Mambo is showing but the Garden Green isn't. Then open this up, and you can use tear and tape for this if you want. I wouldn't use snail probably, and then just close that down so you know that that is in the right position. And because it's liquid adhesive, you can just, you know, give it a bit of a wiggle if you need to. And then that is then positioned. You can then come in with your inner and pop that over the top so that that is then trapped underneath your liner. So it just neatens that off. Then all we need to do is to make the whole thing up. I keep looking at the battery. Right, so I kind of shaped everything a little bit before I did any adhering. And in fact I want those upside down. But just, you know, bent everything a little bit just to give it a bit of life. And then if we come in with our multi-purpose adhesive, don't need a huge amount, I'm probably putting on too much because I'm now rushing. So that's those. Then just build up your... I'm going to bring one in as a guide because why wouldn't I? So just build up your orchids so that they are kind of where you want them. And the whole idea is that that doesn't get underneath the orchid. I mean, it doesn't matter if it does, but that was the basic idea. And then just our little one here, which needs a bit more shaping. So pop him, bring that up a bit. You can kind of bend them as you go. And then this little one here, just there. Then I need, dimensionals, which are deciding to not want to come out of their little container. And I also need the leaves. So let us pop dimensionals on the back of, of these. Keep checking both the timer and the 21 minutes, and we've still got some power. Hurrah. Cannot believe these are taking quite so long. I do apologise if you're still watching at the end. Thank you. They are actually quicker to make when you do them as a conveyor belt, so it didn't take me 6 times of the length of time it's taking me to put these together, fortunately. So again, I'm going to just, shape these as I go and turn them over because I need to put glue on them. So, a little bit there, a little bit there. This really is a question of the less glue you put on, the quicker they will adhere, which kind of seems a bit counterintuitive, but it's true. So, tuck that in there. You do kind of want to keep everything reasonably within the card because you do want it to be able to fit in an envelope. It's always a plan to be able to fit things in an envelope. And our last one here. And then the final touch is, I very carefully got out and buried pearls. So, medium-sized pearl on each of these. And then a little pearl on the baby one. And that's our card done. Bring that across so that it knows it's got to be there. And there we go. That is my swap card for our team weekend. So hopefully the people that I'm swapping with will have enjoyed receiving their swap from me. I've got another swap because I'm doing 2 swaps. I've got another swap which I will show you later in the week. But in the meantime, thank you very much for joining me and persevering to the very end. All the usual links are below. If you don't already subscribe, there's a link just there. So if you wanted to subscribe, I can't speak this morning. My birthday is the 1st of November and it would be lovely to hit 5,000 subscribers by then. So we've got a little bit of time still. So if you feel that you could subscribe, that would be wonderful. Let me just make that a proper thing. Thank you very much indeed, and I hope to see you again very soon. Bye!